Welcome to the Hub Podcast. I'm your host, Cheney Passer. With me is Komodo Courtney.
Whoa, I don't even know what that word means.
You know the Komodo dragon?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is.
It's the biggest lizard in the world.
I kind of want you to explain it. I also
It's
don't.
simply just because I thought of it.
Okay.
That's yours. I
Like
thought
a
of it.
dragon.
And then I looked up fun facts about it.
Oh my gosh, you planned this. Okay.
So, something that's kind of interesting about them. The primary way that they hunt and seek out prey is through it's kind of through their smell. They quote like smell. It's what
Okay.
they do is their tongue is forked. So what they do is as they're walking or even just sitting there, they'll like put their tongue out into the air and basically get the air molecules and bring them back into their mouth. And then they'll touch the top of their roof with their tongue. And whatever side of their tongue, because it's forked, has more sensory, that's how they know what side the prey is on when they're hunting. Isn't that
Humans
weird?
suck.
Yeah. Isn't
Oh
that
my
weird?
gosh, that's awesome. Well, I got a fun fact for you.
Okay.
It's tradesies. Have you ever heard the difference between white fat and brown fat?
No, I don't even know what those
As
are.
I am talking about it, it's going to seem stupid. It's going to seem like this is made up. It's not. I triple checked it. But Mind Pump was talking about it, how there's brown fat in our body and white fat in our body. And the brown fat is more like thermogenic. So it's easier to burn. And you can actually basically like turn your white fat into brown fat. So it's not like, fat cells where you gain them and then you have them forever. You can't really lose them. You can turn your white fat into brown fat through things like sleeping in a cool environment. So it's like, the clickbaity thing would be sleeping in a cool bed or sleeping in a cool, warm or cold room helps you lose weight.
Yeah.
And it's really just, there has been studies more done that your white fat, once you can turn it into brown fat, which then is more thermogenic, which is then working, more to burn calories and burn the fat, that sleeping in a cooler environment has shown studies more that, well, in animal studies, that their white fat turns into brown fat throughout the night because they're in a cold environment. I don't know if it's
Weird.
because the temperature shifts it or if it's because your body is needing to regulate the heat. So then it converts the white into the brown.
Yeah.
But that's another benefit of sleeping, like stay in a cold bed or a cold room, because it could help turn your... Now, that is weird. Like such incremental differences. It's not like, oh, here's the solution to weight loss. Get more brown fat and you'll lose weight. It's so much more beyond that. But if it's just like...
That's something that I should look up more into, is the difference between the two and what you can do with them.
It was very interesting.
Yeah.
But today's topic, we're going to get into it.
Yeah.
Is, I'm pumped for this because it's just like a fun, I don't know. It's things that I think we talk about so often of like, why do we hear this so often? Or why do people say this? And it's just because things that you hear, there's so many misconceptions and lies or things that you see on maybe social media or from friends about fitness and health that just get said so many times that they become truth.
Mm-hmm.
To where when you actually dive into the science of it or dive into personal experience, and it's like, no, you just believe that because you've heard it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
This episode is about breaking down those myths in fitness.
Yeah.
And things that we just hear most of the time that are just not true. And some of these things are just quick little, it doesn't really make or break, but some of these are actually like things that are getting in the way of people's goals and fitness goals because they're believing this crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's not even necessarily that it's not true, but it's not, maybe applied in the right way. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we could start right away. Start with the first one, or if you have something else.
Just the fact that I will be sipping on some wine. It is 8:10 p.m. and we are starting this podcast. So, enjoying it in this cute little glass. If my mouth starts to turn red, sorry about it.
Yeah, usually we are in the afternoon, but today's a late one.
First myth. You shouldn't do squats past 90 degrees.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think we've brought it up a couple times on this podcast of like, if you don't use it, you lose it type of thing. And that's a big one. Like, that's just straight up mobility right there. Like, if you're not squatting or going past 90, if you're not utilizing the joints in the way that they're designed to be able to use, you just get tight, you start to lose that, and now it's not even a choice of yours if you're going to go past 90 or not. It's now you can't bend down, or you don't have the mobility to literally just sit down. Something that's awesome is like watching kids.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Watching kids, they will be on their heels, sit down. I mean, it's like, it's so natural to them to be in perfect squat position as they're hunched down and they're playing with something or grabbing something. You're designed to be able to do that and have that, and you should be continuing to work in that range of getting that low and being controlled there, and all of the stuff with that if you don't use it, you lose it.
I think that bringing up the kids and the babies is a perfect example of, they are kind of the epitome of what our function, maybe not certain things, because as babies, you obviously don't have the full structure and there's cartilage in certain places. And yeah, you're not able to roll your legs in like this.
Yeah,
most little kids can do. But most of the functions that you can do as a little kid, like how flexible kids are and how like their mobility is insane. There's no reason that we stem away from that or like grow out of that. It's just we stop working on that and our body starts to get tighter and tighter as we grow. That's one thing like my dance teachers always told me was like, if you're going to get flexible, do it before age like 11 or 12, because that's when your body starts to kind of just like harden and become more in this, stationary form, that if you want to extend your limits and teach your muscles while they're growing to still lengthen and work in that way, you have to constantly be doing that.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people say two things for why they don't squat past 90 is, one, it hurts their knees. And two, they don't see the benefit. They go, why do I need to go past 90?
Yeah, I think with the first one, it hurts your knees. That's totally valid, and I get how that would stray you away from it. But that's when you start to kind of diagnose why it hurts, or you start to try to figure, like, it's not, the answer is not, it hurts my knees, so I shouldn't do it anymore. It hurts my knees, but I know that this is a normal human function and I should be able to do this. So you should start working in ways to try to fix that by doing more mobility exercises, or just simply getting down in that position and working kind of down in there in that range and seeing, okay, is my knee hurt because I'm too much on my toes when I go down there and I'm trying to compensate and balance, or are my ankles rolling out, or my knees rolling in? All of these different things could be contributing to it. That it's a signal that's sending you that something's wrong, and you need to figure out the problem, not avoid the problem.
Yeah. The kind of what you said, like most of the time it's because of your form that's where the pain is at. Unless it's something really extreme where that's, maybe you have like certain what's the word?
You just have like degeneration in your knee, in your cartilage, or
yeah, like that's so few and far
ligaments.
between. Most
Yeah.
of the time squats are so intricate and very easy, unfortunately, to, I think, stray away from your body's correct form, that most of the time, because there's pain, is because you're doing it either incorrectly, or there is just like the way that your knee is tracking over, say, like using your tendons, but tracking over even just like the kneecap area and the way that the muscles and the tendons are working together. They just are maybe tracking a little bit off. Someone that I would want to shout out, I guess, is if you go to what is his YouTube? Squat University. He has a lot of awesome tests to kind of figure out maybe where your alignment issue could be, and then work on the mobility too.
Yeah.
Kind of just like prevent that problem from getting worse and work on the problem.
I think with the next one, if they don't see results, that's not a, that's kind of just BS to me. Like,
Yeah.
that's not a, you going to 90, um, it's not a results thing. It's a having the mobility and having the function to be able to do that. You know, it's why you do full repetitions or you use full range of motion for any of your exercises is you're trying to keep that mobility and you're trying to keep the flexibility and the lengthen of your muscle so that you don't just become all tight and cramped up and not able to move and you're moving like a tight soldier or whatever. Like you want to be lengthened and be able to reach behind the car and do all these things in a strong fashion that like you don't see results from it. Well, you not going past 90 isn't giving you more results. Like it's kind of like,
Well, I think it's more of, it could give you more results in the way of you're just getting more out of the lift. Same way of anything else. If you were doing chest press and you only went halfway down, I think people's argument is your muscle is so lengthened, or they especially think of their glutes. Their glutes are so lengthened at the bottom of the squat that they're like, well, what's the point if I'm fully lengthened? I want to be able to hold tension the entire lift. That if you think of especially something like a squat where you're using so many muscle groups, it's figuring out how to gain the most tension even in those extended positions, which is kind of the whole point of mobility, is to be able to gain control and produce power out of those lengthened stretch positions. It's like a phrase I love using, but like owning the movement. You're able to own this depth and be able to press and use power and use your muscle to its optimal potential or function. Yeah, function.
Yeah.
In its full range. Not
Yeah.
just, well, I can do a good squat and I can keep putting on weight when it's halfway. It's just like same thing if you did the bench or a shoulder press. Do you really count that movement, or can you say you own that movement if you're going half of the range?
Right.
Not really. So it's the same thing with squats. Like the full movement is all the way sitting down at the bottom of the squat and then coming up, not halfway, not at 90.
Yeah. I think with this episode in general, these myths, this is my, this is where the mean me will come out.
Yeah.
Is it's like the squat thing, that thing, it bugs me a lot because it just, to me, it goes, let's be honest, it's just harder. And you don't want to do you don't want to do the harder thing.
Yeah, it is.
You don't want to go past 90. You know, it's like the people that go into the bench press and do the same thing of like, you really shouldn't come all the way down and touch your chest. Like that's too lengthened and blah, 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 blah. They make up all these excuses. And it's like, no, it's simply that you don't want to do those extra 2-3 inches. It's harder. It's more difficult. It's just simply harder and you don't want to do it to where it does have all of the benefits. It will give you all the results because the things you're talking about of like you're gaining more connection as you get farther down. You're increasing your mobility. You're strengthening those muscles at those lengthened states. That's super important. That's why you can't go past 90 as you get older, is because you're not using anymore. You're not going to those depths. And it's the same for everything.
Yeah.
Or every exercise, every body part that you're not doing the full range of motion.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Next topic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next myth is doing abs at a quick pace with no breaks. So what I mean by that quick pace is like doing 20, 25 repetitions as fast as you can, just pumping out little crunches and then going right into the next ab exercise and then right into the next exercise.
Yeah. There's kind of a weird, like, almost like a loss of information with that.
Yeah.
You know, with abs and calves is another one that people kind of do this way of like, you know, people will be trying to put on more muscle mass and they'll try to get stronger. So they're kind of sitting in like a low rep range. They're only lifting 5 to 8 reps and they'll do their whole workout, trying to build muscle, be strong. And then they'll go do abs and it's like 25 reps with no weight. And it's like everybody does a
Like
circuit.
a circuit, yeah.
Everybody does a circuit. They
Yeah.
all, crunches, then Russian twists, then hanging leg raises, and they just go as fast as they can, to where it's like, if the intention for it is there, it makes sense. But like the example I'm giving of everywhere else, you're trying to get stronger and bigger, and you're in this 5 to 8 rep range, but then you're doing abs or calves in this way, it doesn't make sense. Like, they are muscles just like the rest of your body. So if you want them to get bigger or you get them stronger, you need to put load on them and you need to put weight on them and have it be challenging for 5 or 8 reps. That's how you're going to build the muscle. And also it's poor mechanics of like, you're doing it super jerky and fast with not a lot of control. That's where you're going to get injured and things get weird.
Well, again, just using the movement as it should be done. That if you think of the way that your spine is and the way that your abs run along your anatomy, or it's not like you said, it's a muscle like anything else. Just like you wouldn't just go and do bicep curls like this with no weight. That seems ridiculous. So just like doing crunches in that way or doing sit-ups in that way should also seem as ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you're wanting to put an intention of, okay, how is this muscle contracting? How am I using the load properly? Even of like, what grip am I doing? Okay, same thing. My muscle and my bicep run along this way, so I know that I need to contract this way. Figuring out in your abs too, which way does the muscle run so that I know what way is contracting. That's another thing that would drive me crazy all the time. It's like, saying like people doing these like side crunches, like holding weights, and they're like, well, I'm working my obliques. Like, well, that's not even how your obliques run. So you could be strengthening just your core and your back, which is still a beneficial exercise, but going back to the intention of it, or you're just doing like a bunch of like quick pumps of crunches rather than actually articulating through the spine. And most of the time when you're just going through it at a quick pace, you're probably just going to have the stronger muscle respond, which is probably not going to be your ab muscles. It's going to be your hip flexors.
Yeah.
So then you're wasting that movement. If your intention is to work on your abs, you're doing just a bunch of hip flexor work, which is great.
Yeah.
But most of the time, that's probably not your intention. I have an example, but what would be an intention for doing the more fast pace?
I think for mainly athletics, or if you're just trying to switch up programming and maybe gain somewhat of a different muscle stimulus, because sometimes people just get in a routine and they just kind of do the same tempo and whatnot, that actually, doing more explosive work could help your muscle growth or muscle strength too. So, but I would say mostly towards the athletic field of people where you do need that explosiveness. Football players, MMA fighters, that type of thing. Tennis players, where everything's got to be quick. That can be a time where you utilize that, but then at the same time, you're not doing that 25 times.
Right.
That's too many times.
Right.
It's goes into the same conversation of like people that do box jumps, and it's like, okay, do it for 30 seconds as fast as you can. That's so bad for you.
Yeah.
That's so bad that is such a that's such a like difficult exercise to do well form wise, is box jumps, and to do correctly. It's super difficult to do them correctly, and so that you won't injure yourself. So then to do them super fast and with not a lot of control, it's really silly. And that's where a lot of these ab exercises are too, of like you're talking about, you're articulating your spine. We regard this as one of the most, if not the most important part of your body, and you're just jerking around and not being in control of it. You should be in extreme, delicate control of it.
Yeah, that's the example that I was going to say, is that's how I use it, like with my dancers, is learning and just practicing like the muscle endurance of your core, but also taking time, the equal amount of time to, like, they're doing 5 reps of slow ass sit-ups and then going back down and having a partner like calculate when like the 4 points on their back is when they're hitting, that when they do more of the quicker pace ones, it can be for the muscle endurance, and it also can be a safer movement that just tests their mental, like this hurts and it burns and just push through it and keep doing it, that I would trust doing that more than like running around the room or, you know, doing other things, that it's a low risk thing to test their like mental strength.
Well, and I think with that,
But most people don't need that.
us kind of saying like, if you want to build muscle or you want to get stronger, your core to get stronger, you should load it with weight. What's kind of odd about this one is, yes, you should do that, but start with doing it without weight, because you may be doing it incorrectly to begin with, of doing 25 and doing them really fast and whatever. Go to keep with no weight, but kind of do it in the way we're talking about, of just like you would do it if you're going in a bench press, if you're going in a bicep curl. You're really focusing on your form and squeezing the muscle and making sure that you're contracting and doing it right each time. Do that same thing with your core. I bet it'll be a lot more effective. And then you can analyze, okay, can I put on weight? Can I just hold a dumbbell above my head while I do crunches, or then go into it? But start with nothing first, because you could be doing it wrong to begin with. So don't load weight and then do it, or try to figure it out.
Okay, next myth. Cardio is the best way to lose weight.
Yeah, and this one's a tricky one because
It's all how you're reading it.
yeah. I think
And who's saying it.
I think sure, like cardio can be the best way to lose weight initially, and that's kind of, I feel like, the topic of conversation always is, it's like, sure, you may be burning more calories compared to resistance training while you're doing it. But the longevity of this continuing to help you lose weight is not as good as resistance training. You can go for a good amount of time just doing cardio and increasing that cardio and getting more and more and burning more calories. But the problem with it is, once you're done with it, it's not really doing much for you anymore. You're no longer burning calories. Your metabolism is no longer boosted and working quicker or faster to help you burn calories, in which will help you lose weight. To where resistance training does do that. It's maybe not burning as many calories while you're doing it as cardio would be, but as you leave and are done for the day, your metabolism is still boosted, and it's continuing to run, and it's continuing to burn calories throughout the day, to which in turn you will end up burning more calories. So it's kind of the slow drip, but it just keeps dripping, and it doesn't stop dripping, to where the cardio is maybe turn on the faucet, but when you're done, you turn it off, and there's nothing left after that.
Yeah, I see it as, do you want the get rich quick, or do you want the long-term wealth?
Yeah.
This, you'll have that quick fire and you'll see the progress that you want and you'll lose the weight, but that money's going to run out and you're going to go back to looking the same, to where building your wealth, building your money, putting it in things that make sense and that are going to make you more money is like the resistance training or using that style of workout. And I think Carly said it perfectly, of like her and maybe these other two women at the gym, and we all know this version of this person, but like they kind of started going to the gym kind of around the same time, and her 3 months of doing Atlas was putting on muscle, putting on the weight, putting on like weight on the bar, and seeing her strength go up. And then these ladies come in, same amount of time, like same many days, but then they just sit on the treadmill and they're still like doing well and doing, you know, a good speed and pushing themselves. But where is the progress? Like they may look the same, feel like they can't do any more than what they did when they started, to where Carly kind of sees those 3 months of growth and where she can track, oh, I'm way farther along than I was here, and I maybe feel stronger and I feel like I look better and I'm getting towards my goal. that I think the cardio is more of just a loop that you have to also keep going to see that progress, and also decrease calories and do all these other things that something like resistance training, it's not going to give you that quick response like a lot of people like, or like we like, but it's that long-term payback.
Yeah, it just keeps going. It's just continuous. And there's so many different avenues that you can go to continue to create a new stimulus to kind of to spike your metabolism again, or spike your muscle growth and production. And you can go all these down these different routes to where with cardio it just has to end up being more. You just have to do more. Oh, you started with 30 minutes? Well, now to burn the same amount of calories, you have to do an hour. And now you have to do an hour and a half, and then 2 hours. And like you said too, you have to be decreasing calories to where it's like, that is not a recipe to success. It's going to maybe help you lose weight quicker, but then you're going to get into this position where you're doing 2 hours of cardio a day and you're eating 500 calories just to lose a little bit of weight. And that there's no longevity in that. You're done. You're going to burn out. You're going to run out. To where with resistance training, you can run a strength program, and then you can run an Olympia where you're like bodybuilding and trying to really chisel the muscle and all that kind of stuff. And you can go down all these different avenues. Plus, think of how many different exercises there are. You're gaining mobility. You're becoming more functional. You're becoming stronger. You're gaining muscle endurance or like maximal strength. How many times can you how much weight can you do just one time? There's so many different avenues that help you and give you a stimulus, that with cardio, there's only one thing to do to get that one stimulus. And when you've dried that up, you just have to do more. That's not going to end up being good.
Well, and I love what you brought up. I didn't even think of that, of like the variety. Not
Yeah.
only the variety of workout, so you're not going to get bored of doing the same thing every day, but variety of the stimulus you're getting and then what your body responds with that.
Yep.
It's not like, oh, well, when I run on the treadmill for 6 months versus when I do the elliptical or do the stairs, my body looks different in every 3 ways. It's like, no, your body loses weight how it's going to lose weight. To where if you run something like Atlas, your body, your end result is going to look way different than if you run Olympia Elite.
Right.
That's so cool to me that it's like, oh, I'm the one that chooses.
Yep. You're building the structure that you want.
Yeah, like I kind of get to pick and choose what I want to look like and how I want my physique to build or change. That with the cardio, like it's just going to lose weight however I lose weight. And sometimes that's also not beneficial either, because it's like, well, I still have the fat where I don't want to have the fat, but everything else just looks a little bit looser.
And that can be because you're not sending the right stimulus. When you're doing cardio, you're kind of sending the stimulus. We need to get this weight off so I can do this more effectively. That's kind of what your body is thinking, to where you don't have that much control over, where are you gaining muscle to help assist that or to make this process easier or better, to where it's kind of one path. You just have this one path with cardio, which there's no doubt that there's benefits to it. There's no doubts that like you can implement this in your workout program and it's going to help immensely. But with what the myth that we're talking about, it's kind of tough to be on cardio's side when it's really got only one good thing about it. And resistance training has this plethora of things that are really good about it.
Yeah. And you can use, and again, you can also apply cardio to weightlifting. Like there's hip workouts, and like there's way to still like boost your endurance and your cardiovascular health.
Yeah.
With also lifting weights.
Yeah.
Next myth?
Yeah.
Next myth. These next two are kind of more women drived. So this one might be quick. Women don't need to lift weights, or shouldn't lift weights.
Sure. Yeah.
Going kind of into back like from the cardio thing. I feel like that's where you see more like, well, I'm just going to go in the the new age jazzercise of
Spin.
Zumba or spin
Yeah.
or these like, oh my gosh, like the classes that I would sub, like cardio kickbox or like
Yeah.
I think women are more kind of coming from the like the jazzercise 80s and like 70s and 80s of that's what working out was, that we're branching out into different things with that, but it's still kind of the base is, well, we can't touch weights though.
I
Because
think
we
it's
want to be toned, and that's not what weights do, apparently.
yeah. I think it's this one is definitely getting better.
100%.
This one there's a lot more
100%.
women lifting weights now versus before.
Yes.
But there is still some of these areas or some of these categories of like it's not jazzercise anymore. It's not just going on the elliptical. It's going to spin class or it's going to Zumba or some of the cardio kickboxing, whatever names that they come up with. And those are all fun. Those are like I've taken spin class. I haven't taken Zumba. I'm not I'm not gonna dance, but
I've taught the spin classes. They're awesome.
yeah, spin classes are so much fun and they're tough and they're really good. But that should be a supplement, or that should be kind of like, oh, here's my fun cardio thing. And
I think
and
those,
then it's like, but the base of what I do is resistance training.
yes. I think those classes are, I mean, I taught them for 2 years. Like spin classes are fun. I think, like the Zumba classes are fun when you think about, I mean, I dance for a living. So I understand why dance is fun. I understand that most people don't get to do that on a weekly basis and put on fun music and like go for it.
Yep.
I totally see the benefit of it for like what we talk about of it's your mental. Okay.
Apparently your mental state has tentacles.
I promise it's not the wine. It's because I was trying to say mental and physical at the same time. Your mental, physical, and emotional health.
Yeah.
I think that plays more into the mental and emotional of you get to go and just have fun and listen to music, which boosts, different chemicals, reactions in your body, but leaving it at that. Or if you're like, you know what, I want to still do 30 minutes of cardio in my week or 45 minutes of cardio in my week, it's more fun to do it in a class than it is for me to just hop on this bike by myself. I totally get that. That, again, it being a supplement, like you said, and still using weights and not being afraid of using weights and not being afraid of learning how to use weights and not feeling stupid doing it. Because I think it's unfortunate because a lot of the physical wants that women have, cardio is not going to maybe get you there, but the weights will for sure get you there. They want to be toned and they want to be tight. Like, well,
that's what
pick up a weight.
Yeah, that's what weightlifting will do.
Yeah.
I think something else that's really great about those classes is people love the community about it.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Being able to see people that you've met and people that become friends because you guys go to the same Zumba class or spin class. So those things are all great, but when it's the soul of your exercising and your fitness, that's where I think it's not such a good thing. You go take 2 Zumba classes a week and that's your exercising. That's just not, it's not what's best for you. It's like you said, great for the mental and emotional health part. It's great to see people that you've become friends with or have a community to dance with and listen to music and all that cool stuff. But if you have these health and fitness goals and you have these places that you want to get to, resistance training's going to be the way to get there.
Yeah. Okay, next myth. I love this one because I used to say it all the time. Weights are going to make me bulky.
They could. If you do that, if you choose to do it that way.
Yep.
That's kind of the thing that's great about resistance training is whatever you want it to do, it's going to kind of do. You just have to have that intention with it and the programming to do it. Weights will make you bulky if you go into the gym and you're lifting as heavy as you possibly can for 5 repetitions on every exercise. But if you go into the gym with the idea of I want to become toned and I want to, maybe lose some body fat and get real tight and, look strong but be tight, go to the gym and do 15 repetitions of everything and do a full body workout. You're going to get that tone tight feeling. You're not going to get bulky.
Well, and that's what I like. I love making fun of myself with this myth too, is like I would be in the gym with my dad talking to his work guys who are, like mid 40s trying to get bulky. And I'm like this scrawny 112-pound girl going, oh, well, I don't want to push it too much because I might blow up.
Yeah.
And they're like,
as they're trying so hard to just get 5 more pounds of muscle or 5 more pounds on their body. Yeah.
To where it's not when I started like actually trying to put on mass and trying to get bulky. And I'm like, this is near impossible to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're just going to fall into it. You're not going to fall into like, oh, shoot, I lifted some weights and now I'm huge. If that was the case, every guy would be jacked.
Yeah.
If it was that easy.
Yeah.
And like as females, I feel like this is more from females. I don't really hear many men talk like this, but it's more from the female space of like, I don't want to get bulky if I lift weights. It's like, not only is it like, I wouldn't say easier for guys, but your body.
We have testosterone.
Yes.
We're trying.
Your chemicals are helping you get bigger. And it's, again, you would see most of the guys looking jacked to where even their hormone profile is helping them do that. And it's so hard. You think it's going to be easy and you're just going to fall into it with all your freaking estrogen and crap?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it seems silly because you would think that all it is go to the gym and lift weights, which is, I don't know if that makes sense or not, that there's that stigma about it. Like that just happens if you lift weights, but it has, in a lot of ways, it's a lot like people that are trying to lose weight. It's the opposite end of it. This doesn't just happen. You can't, like, you talk to people who are trying to lose weight. You can't just just go for a run and be consistent.
Yeah.
And you'll lose weight. Like, it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Just like going to the gym and just lifting some weights doesn't all of a sudden make you bulky. There has to be clear intentions, and there has to be a program that you're following that is pushing you towards that goal. And it's also a time thing. Like, I started off lifting and I was probably 115 pounds. Like, I'm not going to put on 60 pounds of muscle in a year. That's just not going to happen. Right. Like, your body is an adaptive machine, and it's always trying to regulate. That's why when you get sick, a lot of the times you get better, because your body has an immune system and it's fighting off disease or viruses or whatever, germs. It gets sick, but then it goes through its process of regulating, and then it gets better. It's doing that same thing when you're putting muscle on. You're trying to load up all this weight on top of you and push it off of you. Your body starts to adapt and go, oh, we need to build more of this thing that helps us lift these weights off of us, because this freaking idiot keeps putting more weight on him. Mm-hmm. So let's build this thing to get it off. It's the same idea of losing weight. You have to be sending the signal and telling your body, we need to get this weight off of us. So it's constantly regulating and trying to come back to a neutral 0 point all the time. That, like, it's not just going to, all of a sudden, I lift a couple weights and boom, I've got 100 pounds of muscle on me. Or the opposite, all of a sudden I lost 100 pounds. Like, your body's always trying to come back to 0. And kind of what you're doing when you're trying to lose weight or put on weight is you're almost trying to trick your body to do that, because its natural thing is to go, well, no, let's come back to this. We need to come back to this.
Well, and for the people that are worried about getting bulky, you're probably also the people that are not eating a large amount of calories in the day, that I think, especially for the female space, or for the people that maybe were overweight and now they're, they got to their lower weight and they're eating healthier and whatever. They're so scared to go back to that it's scary for them to push the calories, which is half of getting bulky. Like you're not going
Yeah.
to put on mass and put on size without your
Caloric.
caloric intake
You sure it's not
going.
the wine?
I promise. It's because it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's so like, especially I feel like I hear this from girls mostly. So that's really who I'm thinking of. Like, girls are not pushing the calories most of the time. And that is a hard mental shift when you are purposely trying to put on calories. Even for me, when I knew the purpose of it, I knew that it was important to do. It was still like, I'm going to eat 2 pieces of bread today. Like
Yeah.
it was actually hard for me to
Yeah,
like
totally.
do that and not think like, I'm going to get fat tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That you have to be so intentional and so conscious to get bulky that I know you're not going to just fall into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Just
myth.
like
It's a myth.
just like even if you're um if you become overweight in the way that you don't want to, kind of thing, you don't just fall into that either. That is baby steps into that. Just like it's baby steps into losing that weight, or it's baby steps into trying to put on a lot of muscle and mass and become this big strong guy. It's baby steps into it. You don't fall into anything you do.
No. Next one.
Yeah, let's do the next one.
Okay, next myth. You need to, I feel like I went into like I wanted to go into my like announcer
Oh.
thing. And the next myth that we have is you need to get sore or sweat to see progress.
Oh yeah, this is a fun one. This is also kind of old school, I feel like. I think I don't know. I feel like it is there's a little bit of a transition with this one of like, no, you don't need to get sore to make progress. Even if we're talking about building muscle and putting on mass or getting stronger, any of that sort of thing, you don't need to get sore for there to be progress. And it's also like you don't need to sweat to like lose calories. I feel like that's kind of more of the maybe idea around that is if I'm sweating, I'm losing calories. It's like, no, you're losing calories if you're doing any sort of physical exertion. If you go for a walk, you're burning calories at maybe a super, super small rate, but that physical activity is what does it. It's not the sweat or like the soreness either.
I feel like the sweating is the mindset of I did something hard
Sure, yeah.
thing.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. I don't think it relates to progress like we're saying. That's why it's a myth.
Yeah.
But I can see where it's like, well, I got sweaty in the sauna because I'm doing something that is a little bit more extreme or I put some work into it or whatever. Even though like we're just outside and it's hot and we sweat. It's not like, oh, we're putting in work.
I think these two ideas are dangerous because it pushes people in the direction that to which they may do more than they really should. And I think the more that we learn about soreness is it's a sign telling yourself or your body like we did too much. So sweating's definitely not that way, but I think I don't like these because it's that kind of like, oh, you're not working hard enough unless you get sore, or you're not working hard enough unless you sweat. So then you have these people that are thinking, well, the more I fill up this bucket of sweat, that means I worked hard and I'm going to get to my goals or I'm going to progress farther. It's not really a question of how hard did you work necessarily as much as it's, how smart, what's your intention? What are you trying to do? If I'm doing mobility or even if I do yoga, I'm not sweating during that. And I'm also not really getting sore during either of those or after either of those. But I'm gaining more function in my joints and I'm like stretching out and becoming more lengthened, and I'm getting all of these great benefits without having either of those two things.
Yeah, I feel like the sore thing, you said it, and kind of what you just said of like the smarter, not harder approach somewhat of
Yeah.
like, if you think about getting sore, your body is in a damaged state, which is an extreme word to say it, but like because it's damaged, it needs time to recover rather than just continuing to build upon or to continue to see progress. That if you think of working out or lifting as a longevity thing and not just right now in this workout, you being sore is now hindering, say, the next day. To where we've all done that, where we've pushed it super hard, say on the leg day, and we're doing that stupid looking walk for a week.
Yeah.
It's like, that should not happen. You push it too much.
Yeah.
You want to feel like lifted after you leave the gym. You don't want to feel exhausted or tired. You want to feel amped and feeling like you feel more energized from when you even went in, and you feel like you've done something worth something, but and like you did something productive, but the next day you're not having to pay for it.
Yeah.
You want it to just, again, like the
Continue to be
money thing,
positives.
you want it to build upon your wealth. You don't want to like, well, but I had to pay for this thing the
Right.
next day.
Right.
Because then now you're not adding to your pot.
And that can be like not motivating, or it can take your motivation away. It's like if you have this kind of idea or this narrative of like, well, when I go to the gym, I get super exhausted after or during it and afterwards, to then which like it makes me have a bad idea of what the gym is, rather than it being, I have a good idea of the gym because when I go there, I work out, I feel great afterwards, and I leave. It makes me want to go back again. Where it's like you go to the gym and every time you go, it's like, well, I got to run my 8 miles. I got to do my lifting until I'm, super, super sore. It's like, obviously you're not going to want to go back there anymore. You leave with all this negative stuff.
Well, even that, how often do you push it the same? Like, how often are you pushing it to your full potential when you're sore? You're probably not. You're probably going, well, I'm sore, so I'm going to take it easy.
Yep.
Rather than, well, if you would have just done the efficient and effective amount the day before, or then, the previous,
days before,
whatever.
yep.
Say if I'm talking about like legs, I want to be able to, when I go in for my next leg day or the next time I'm going to do legs, to be at, 90% effective efficiency, not, well, I kind of have to bump it down because I went way too crazy last time. I'm still recovering.
Yeah.
It's like I'm constantly just like building, going back down because I'm recovering. It's like being sick.
Yeah.
Like, why are you making yourself sick? It's
Yeah.
not making your immune system better because you have to build it up every time.
Yeah. You're overworking so much that the next time you come back in, you have to take it easy to where then you kind of just get in this vicious cycle, and you're not really building upon anything. You're just kind of damaging yourself and then repairing, rather than like you said, let's go put in an effective amount of work and then leave and feel good. And then, now you're stacking the blocks rather than, oh, I stacked up 3, but then I had to knock them all down because like I had to do this super difficult workout. It's like, no, just keep putting blocks and just keep going.
Yeah. The next one kind of goes into this as well. The next myth is going to failure every set.
Yeah, that is kind of similar. And I don't think as much of a common one.
Oh, really? I think it's very common.
I've really never heard this one. I mean,
I feel like
I've obviously heard it, but
yeah, mostly for guys, I hear this. Like, they think that's what you're supposed to do. Like, you're not pushing it enough unless you can't do any more every single set. Like, that's how they know that's the rep range.
I just didn't hang around those people, I guess. Yeah, no, same thing. Like that's just kind of maybe a more macho thing, or just kind of a weird idea of it. Because again, like you're just gonna put yourself in this position where you're exhausted and you're super sore and you don't want to go back to the gym anymore. And it's also just it's not necessarily more effective in any way, because then you're just kind of focusing on how many times can I do this exercise type of thing, like how many repetitions can I do, versus focusing on contracting the muscle and relaxing the muscle each rep and making sure you're getting full range of motion and doing all of the good things, good form, all that type of stuff. You start to lose your focus and intention on what's important, and you just kind of go to this thing of like, well, I go to failure. It's like, well, okay, but that doesn't mean that you're effectively using the muscle and the exercise
And
to the most potential.
every rep being the most effective.
Yeah.
Not like what you said, like once you get to your kind of last couple sets and you're going to failure, where's your form going to go? Then it's like, was that even worth doing it? Like there's a possibility of injury. There's a possibility of like, this really didn't do anything because I'm doing it with wrong form. Especially if you think of like a major lift, like a squat.
Yep.
You do that with wrong form, that could really hinder, what you do next.
It could be a huge detriment because you could start creating really bad pathways too.
Yeah. I think that one is something to use with intention. Doing it every once in a while to see, but not on every lift, every set that you do. I like the saying of just like leaving 2 in the tank.
Yeah.
1 or 2. Just like, okay, I know I could probably push through 2 more, but this is like a solid, I feel good. Everyone felt even or close to even. And I knew that I had control and awareness of each rep.
Yeah.
Next one. Every kind of exercise is the same. Meaning like...
Yeah, what does that mean?
Running is the same as lifting weights, is the same as doing a cycling class, is the same as going on hikes, is the same as going on a bike ride. That exercise, as long as I'm getting exercise, it's all doing the same thing for me.
Yeah, I really have not heard this one anymore.
I feel like I hear this more in the older age group. Like I heard this all the time in my like silver sneakers class where it's like the 65 and older.
Sure.
Is they go, well, why do I need to lift these little dumbbells? Like I go outside and do the little pedals.
And I think this is kind of we've worked with the different groups of people type of thing, because like even the older generation of clients that I've had, it's like they're coming for personal training towards like they kind of already know and have an idea of like, I've heard that this is different than just like doing any of the other stuff.
Yeah.
To where you've taught more of the classes that it's like,
I get such a wide variety of people and from different backgrounds too, that like I would have a bunch of the men in the class that used to be athletes when they were in high school 30 years, 45 years before that like, well, I'm athletic, so I should still be able to do this. Or the women that have never done any exercise or worked
grew
at
up in
all,
the jazzercise era.
that they didn't see the point of having a variety. Yeah. Even within the class of like, we're doing mobility, we're doing stretching, we're doing lifting, we're doing dance as a warm up or something. That I think, I guess just this can be a quick one, that knowing your intention of why you're doing it, not just, well, it's healthy because I'm moving my body. Knowing, well, is racquetball and playing racquetball or going on a hike or going on a bike ride, is that going to get you to what you want? Maybe you're just trying to do something active and you're trying to still have, fitness a part of your health profile. But if you're trying to put on muscle mass and then you're going to go, well, I'm going to go play racquetball and, go on a bike ride but I still want to build muscle and be strong, they're not going to get you the same. Yeah, they're not going to get you the same things.
Yeah.
So next one?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 more. The second to last myth is not taking rest periods is either better / you're working harder.
Yeah, this one I've come in frequently. Of it's like there's kind of it's almost like an anxiety of like, I need to be doing something. I think especially too, which this is kind of I get it if it's this where I've had clients doing this where it's like, I have 30 minutes with you or I have an hour with you. I don't want to be sitting here doing nothing. I want this time to be utilized to where I think that I totally get that, especially if you're paying for sessions and that sort of thing. But whether you are or you're not, you're just going to the gym, rest periods are important. And
they have value.
Like you're building back up your ATP production to then be able to do the weightlifting part again, to be able to do the resistance exercise again. So in a more simplified way, it's literally you have an energy bar and you use some of that energy and you come down and you need to rest to then build that energy up. Like if you played any video games where you're fighting, typically you have an energy bar at the top of the screen. If you get hit, that goes down. Or if you're hitting, that will go down to where you need to kind of rest to help build that up. It's somewhat of the same thing. That they are important. And it's also important because a lot of the time, if you're just go, go, go the whole time, your form is breaking down and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And that's where you start creating bad pathways and you start to, you're doing things incorrectly that can lead to injury or even like, we did our workout today and, we did bench press for one of the exercises. I go in and do my set of bench press. I sit and wait. You do yours. And then when I go back, I can now still do the same weight I did before. If I did my set of bench and then I sat up and waited 2 seconds and then went back in, I wouldn't be able to lift that weight anymore. So now kind of the effectiveness is a little bit less than because I'm not able to lift that same weight the same amount of times.
Yeah, I think it's the intention behind your workout. I feel like the people that want to keep it going, which is very common, and I understand why, you're just trying to get through the workout rather than setting into it and making it effective. You're just seeing it as, this is the thing that I need to do today that I need to check off my list.
Yep.
Rather than being fully in the moment and going, okay, this is something that's, I either have a goal in, I'm paying for, or I understand the benefit that, even if you don't understand the benefit and you just know I have to be here and I have to do it, try to limit, I think, anything in your life of just like, I just need to blank out or, and then just push through it and get through it. Most of the time that when you're doing that, you're not going to see the payback of doing it. If you're just pushing through and going, literally you're not going to see the benefit of each movement, of each exercise, of each set, each rep. But then just the whole workout, you're just going to go, well, I just did it as fast as I could.
Yeah, I just had to get through it.
Not as effective and beneficial as I could.
And that's what I think is maybe one of, it's so hard to say what's the thing that's missing in the fitness world, but I think that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, is just the mindfulness with what you're doing. If you were mindful with what you were doing, you would learn a lot and you would be able to get to your goals faster or actually get to them compared to right now where you're not, because you're just going into it blank and trying to just get through it and not think about it, whatever. You're not learning from yourself of like, oh, I noticed when I did these exercises, I got, maybe more sore. So maybe I should work on these things more. Or as I was doing squats, I noticed that my right knee kind of keeps dipping in. Maybe that's why my right knee hurts, or maybe that's why my hip is feeling weird or whatever. The more mindful you are while you're doing it, you're just going to gain the data and you're going to learn so much about yourself and how you move and it just everything that you'll learn. You'll get to your goals quicker. You'll get to your goals quicker, more effectively, more stable as well. It won't be this just like, I don't know. I don't know how I lost 55 pounds. Mm-hmm. Like that's great, but that's also scary that you don't know how. Like, well, I just kind of did these things. And it's like, okay, cool. But that's a recipe for you're going to gain that back.
Well, and I was going to say, even on the opposite side of that, of how people are like, I don't know how I ended up looking like this. It's like, you don't just gain weight or lose weight or gain muscle mass or lose muscle mass within a week, within a month. Like, this takes a lot of time to say, even just like the gaining weight, what most people have the struggle with of gaining weight. That doesn't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. That was a continual,
just repetition. It's just
a continual pattern steps that you created that maybe you weren't aware that you were creating. And the same thing with exercise, that your body tells you what's going on most of the time. You just need to listen or look or pay attention. It's crazy to me, like teaching all the class that I did, and you know, like how you like going down into a squat, and they are like all the way into one side of their body, and they're fully twisting, and they're looking at themselves in the mirror. I'm like, okay, well, let's make sure that we're center. And they're like, what? I feel like I'm center. It's like, do you not see that your body and like you can't feel that you're feeling way more weight on your right leg, and that's harder to push off and all that. I feel like we're so that's one thing I think dances helped me tremendously is we're so disconnected from ourselves, whether it's emotional, physical, mental, that then when it gets really bad is when we're like, what the heck? It's like, you were along for the whole process. You could have seen this play out. And I think it's as much as this is so beyond just the rest periods, it kind of comes back to like every little minute part of your fitness and health has a value, and not taking it as like, well, that doesn't really matter. Like each part of these things that we're talking about of rest periods or your form or how you're doing it plays into the bigger picture. And it's not just about the main topic-y things.
Yeah, I mean it's literally pieces to the puzzle. You know, it's like you if you legitimately sit and you think about a puzzle, if there's pieces missing, that whole thing's incomplete. And it may not, you know, this doesn't relate to the puzzle necessarily, but when it comes to your body, if those things are incomplete and they're not working together or you are missing things, it's not going to function and work the way that you want it to. So you need attention to detail. It's not just to go in blankly and run for 30 minutes and then you're done. Like it's not going to get you to where you want to be. Yeah, you gotta be mindful.
Yeah. Wish that should just be a life,
Yeah.
you know, push. Be mindful with your life, what you're doing. Last myth.
Yeah.
This is probably not for a majority of people, but more is better.
Yeah, and this kind of goes to the soreness thing, the sweat thing.
Us kind of people.
Yeah, more is not necessarily better. You can definitely overwhelm your body, and you know it's kind of like what we talked about with the soreness thing. Is like if you're just constantly damaging yourself or damaging your body or just putting more on your plate, doing more, you're not giving your body any chance to recover and repair and actually build upon what you're trying to do. You're just constantly running it into the ground. That's definitely not going to get you to where you want to go.
And I think if you are this person that you feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough, or I need to do more, or, you know, like, well, I need to be in the gym 7 days a week. Instead of just thinking more, think of diversify. What am I maybe not doing? So if you're going into the gym 6, 7 days a week and you're lifting, okay, well, you can't add more. It's not, okay, let's just do 2 days now. No, maybe that's not the answer. Maybe it's, okay, am I not equaling my mobility? Am I not maximizing my stretching program? But like, what else am I not putting full force at? If you're someone that likes to go full force at it and put a lot of time into it, think about what ways am I not putting into it, and then just putting your time towards that rather than just like overloading on the thing that you're already doing.
Yeah, because nobody is doing everything or everything they should be, you know, and I think that's what this myth kind of is. It's like the equation isn't do more. A lot of the time it's, do what you aren't doing. That person going 6 days a week. Okay, now like do yoga. Pick up a yoga thing. They're on YouTube everywhere.
Yeah.
Like do yoga or do more stretching, do mobility. There's something that you're not doing that you should be. So find that rather than like, well, I need to, like exactly what you said. I need to do 2 days now, or I need to add another time that I can go to the gym or add that 7th day. Like really analyze what your fitness thing is. And it might be, what are you not doing? It's taking a freaking rest day, or you know, taking some time off, taking a day to like, I'm just gonna try to get a good amount of steps in and walk, or go, like I'm not hanging out with family or wife and kids or whatever. Like it's not just fitness. So think about everything, but even if it is just fitness, it's like even that, like I don't do enough mobility. I don't do enough stretching. I could do more yoga. I am really into the weights stuff that like, yeah, we all have it. We all have our things we're not good at or things that we kind of stay away from. That's what you should be going to. Not like, oh man, I go 6 days a week. I need to add a seventh day, I guess, and go to the gym 7 days and do more weights.
Right. Especially if 6 days isn't working for you, it's probably not
7 probably
the
isn't going
volume.
to either.
Like one more day isn't going to like, that was the change. That's what tipped it over the edge. And now I look exactly what I want to do. Like it's probably just mixing it up and doing what you're not doing is going to then benefit what you were maybe overworking before as well.
Yeah. And then I think on the opposite end is if you're going 1 day a week, going a second day probably would help. You know, like
Yes.
if you are somebody that they maybe just do yoga, it's like, okay, go, you're the same person, but opposite of the guy who goes to the gym 6 days a week. You do yoga 6 days a week. You should probably take up, okay, I need to do some resistance training. Let me go to the gym and do a little bit of weightlifting, and that will help you immensely.
Yeah. A lot of it is just doing what you're not doing rather than just adding on more of what you're currently doing.
Because we all have tendencies. We kind of
Yes.
sit into the things that we're comfortable with, and we want to.
And you know what? That even goes for people that are maybe not, like, I'm thinking of like the us personalities of like, we're overworking ourselves on one thing or like overworking ourselves on so many different, routes that even if it's the person that isn't super into fitness or super into those things, is they may be always blaming their reason of not getting there on the same thing. That it's like,
Sure.
well, I don't have the program that's getting me there. I don't have the diet that's getting me there. I don't have the coach that's getting me there. That if you're noticing you continually bring up the same issues, maybe looking at a different issue of why that could be happening. It's like for me,
try
like
to look at it from a different side or lens or something.
yeah, like if you're trying to get bulk or, get bulky or put on size or put on mass, which is something I was trying to do for so long, I was focusing so much on practicing the lifts and getting better and putting, putting weight on the bar and like getting better at the workout side of it. And then
like the skill of it
and getting better at the programming and all of that stuff. And then going, what's happening? It's not working. And then eating nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe that's not your problem that you're even needing to correct. So whether it's you want to do more and just continue to blah, 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 or this is the reason this isn't happening, blah, blah, blah. Maybe looking at whatever you're not doing and just going, what can I do more with in either direction?
Yeah.
Or focus on.
Yeah.
That was all of them.
Cool. Awesome. You can
never say any of those again.
Yeah. You can follow our Facebook page, The Hub Fitness, our Instagram at @thehub_fitness. Email us at thehub.fitcrew@gmail.com. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to continue to post more. We have a personal training with me episode out that you can go watch and learn a couple things about some of the exercises that we did. Those will be coming out more frequently. I think that's it.
All
right, cool. Let's go to bed. Good night.